My name is Garry Green, and I live in Ward 8, which is where Jane-Finch is housed. I live at Sentinel in Grand Ravine, not too far. My experience here is working with the Toronto Youth Job Corps program for a few years. I've also worked on the board of Blacksmith Child Care Center. I was on there for a couple of years, and this was before I had my son, but the supervisor came to me and just said, we're having a lot of problems with our child care center. There's a possibility that the place is going to move and everything like that, and the parents were very upset. And so I agreed to get on board. And so we were able to maintain the space within the school by me just helping them write letters to the right people. I wasn't able to be a part of actually writing the letter or signing my name because I worked with the school board, but just directing them in terms of who they should contact to get that kind of support. So I've worked in the community, live in the community, and have volunteered in the community. Yeah, I think that it is applied disproportionately. I mean, that is what I'm hearing when I go to community forums. I must say that I work in the business services department, so what I do is I apply and get funding for the area in order to run programs, employment programs, that sort of stuff. So I don't really work in the schools per se. We do have some programming in the schools, like the community access program where we bring computers into the schools. We also brought it into Oakdale Community Center. So my take on Safe Schools is my own. It's not, in any way reflective of the board, but I do think that we need to look at who it's impacting on. And, some kids don't fit into the traditional system. Some kids are a little bit hyper. They need to get up and walk around and that sort of stuff. And they become more disruptive. And we need to start accommodating different learning styles. I mean, again, not that that's necessarily a city function, but something that you could advocate for the kids in the schools. Because, I know my son, he's running around all the time and stuff. I'd hate to think that because he's a little disruptive, that might end up being that he gets kicked out of school. The one program that I work for, Toronto Youth Job Corps, it receives some city funding, and what they do is they also apply for federal funding. So they actually manage the project, the City of Toronto manages it, and then contracts it out. So I think that's a great model to follow, where if the city starts applying for a lot more funding, like the school board has done, like we have over 35 different employment programs under our umbrella of contracted services and partnership development in the school board, the city could do the exact same thing. So that's what I would be doing out of my office, is applying for this funding, and I think we could get so many programs here to help youth. Apprenticeship is a big focus right now by the provincial government, and when I was at the Driftwood Community Center the other day, they had an information fair. I think that linking up more with them to do more information in the buildings and telling people, okay, you may not have this educational background, but you have other opportunities. We just need to keep the door open to as many youth as possible, and I think that having that leadership at the council level could affect everything that happens in the community. It's a great question. First of all, as a parent who has tried to look for child care in the area, it's very difficult, and it's under-supported. And I think that if we look at the continuum of services, like the whole range of services that are needed in order to grow a healthy community and healthy children, it starts right there. Some mothers need to go out starting to work when the baby's 1 month old. It's wrong, but it happens. It's because, either they didn't qualify for employment insurance, or the employment insurance that they're getting is so minuscule that you can't live off it. So it starts with that. Our current councillor actually voted against restoring, I'm not saying adding new, I'm saying restoring child care subsidies in 2003, and what that cost the City of Toronto was $1.2 million. So that was a hit for all parents in the area. And so when I called 11th or 12th place that I called to get my son into a child care center, it wasn't in this area. But I was just blessed and fortunate that they had an opening. And I'm very persistent. And so I called a lot of places. Some parents would give up after a few. They'd say, you know what, I can't take that job because I can't get child care. We need to start looking at these. There's a correlation between the health of the community and the health of the children, and that's where we need to start with our funding. Well, it's kind of funny that that's always the response. There's crime in an area. Wow, let's watch people closer, right? That will take away the crime. So what happens is you're on one side of the street and the crime's taking place. I got a great idea. Let's go across the road where we can't be seen by the cameras, because don't you know there's going to be a sign up saying, "Camera here, you are being watched." So I don't understand why that would deter people from crime. It may deter where the crime takes place, which in some trouble spots, if there's enclosed areas where people feel unsafe, i.e. an elevator, I'm all for that because they have no exit, right? They have no place where they can go. And if that makes them feel safer, then that's great. But let's look at where we should be investing that $2 million. Let's start repairing buildings. Let's not have people wait a year in order to get routine basic maintenance done to their apartment. Let's give them a little bit of dignity of life. Let's help them to get jobs. That would be a great way. Give me $2 million. I'll show you what I can do with it. The communities will feel safer because the people will be working. They won't have time to be doing stuff. I think that that's the way we need to look at it. Now, if they were investing in the cameras and they were also investing in the community, if they were also saying, okay, well, we're doing this $2 million, but we're also going to make sure every person who wants a job has one, then we can talk about the merit or lack thereof. But if you're just saying you only have $2 million to go around and I'm going to invest in the cameras as my #1 priority, I don't think that's how you reduce crime. You reduce it through improved housing and you reduce it through more employment opportunities. Well, there are very few inspectors. The places get inspected very infrequently. And so the result is that places get run down, and you have city councilors who are getting their funding from developers, and so they have no real built-in incentive in order to improve the conditions. I'm not taking any money from developers. I won't be taking any money from developers. So then when I'm going to vote, when I'm going to act, I'm doing it in the best interest of people. There are a lot of different ideas people could take. The important thing for me is we need to increase the monitoring and inspection of the places, or we're not going to get any improvement. And then we need to have some teeth to it. So what is the outcome if you don't improve the state of your building in the 3 key areas that I've pointed out around health and hygiene, around just the general maintenance and upkeep, and around the overall aesthetics of the place. If you don't improve in those areas, what are the outcomes? I think people should be losing their contracts, and I think that we need to start being a more model landlord. The Toronto Community Housing Corporation, if I'm going to attach the name Toronto, a place I'm very proud of, I'm not going to allow people to live in crappy places like that. No offense to the folks who live there, because I know, you live there for many years, you keep hoping that the next person's going to make a difference. So we go into a restaurant and we know that they have a green for a pass, they have an amber if you've got some work to do, and you have a red, which means, we better alert ourselves to this. Well, I think that a similar approach could be done in our buildings, so that if everything is working out well, you get a green. You show that, you're proud of it, you show it in the lobby. If you just need a bit of work, you get an amber. Somebody comes back in a reasonable period of time, and then hopefully puts the green up. If you get a red, that says time to switch the management company. And I've had a lot of places, and I'm not just talking TCHC, but other buildings too. And with TCHC being $250 million in capital deficit, we're only going to see matters get worse. So somebody needs to start saying this. I can't do it alone. I've got to be honest with you. If I get in, you're not going to see every building better in a day. But at least I can start saying to the provincial and the federal government, to developers, and everyone in the community, this has to change. And that's the first step, at least knowing that you have a champion. There's other things we can do around Edgeley Village as well. They were slated for redesign 30 years ago, and for some reason our community has been overlooked. Regent Park has been looked after. I'm assuming the only difference is advocacy. So I would be there advocating for people. I'm meeting with a lot of the residents at Edgeley. I know that they would come out and support getting some changes there. One young fellow just said, you know what, we've got that space right there. We're just standing there. They're standing on the stoop every single day. Every time I've been there, the same guys are right there. And they just said, I'd like something to do. Like, can you get some, maybe even a court over here or something? I would do it one better. I'd say the whole thing's got to be redesigned. I would like to say that whatever happens, I want you to go out and vote. I do live in the area. I've done a lot of work for the area, and I'm going to keep doing that whether I win or lose. But if you're not voting for me, please vote, because what happens after the election, people are going to look at the polling results, and they're going to see where people voted and where they didn't, and surprise, surprise, the areas where people vote are going to get more attention. Not if I'm elected, but that's what's going to happen if anyone else gets elected. So please, it doesn't take you very long. Often you'll have it right in your building, and I know it's a leap of faith. If you just have to go in and spoil your ballot, I encourage you to do that because it registers as a vote. So if you need to get in touch with me, if you need help with anything, pre or post November 13th, you can call me at 416-635-0159. Thanks so much.